I thought I understood cities. Then I arrived in Chongqing. My GPS stopped working within 10 minutes. Not because of a glitch, because it couldn't comprehend what it was seeing. 5 highways stacked on top of each other, occupying the same coordinate. This is Chongqing. A city of 30 million people built where every engineer said it was impossible. The mountains were too steep. The rivers too violent. The terrain too broken. They built it anyway. And what they created either represents the future of urban planning, or its most terrifying mistake. Look at this road. It's moving. No, it's designed to move. These waves aren't from earthquakes or poor construction. They're intentional. When I asked a local driver why, he laughed. You try driving a straight line on a 35-degree slope. You'll be dead in a week. Chongqing's engineers created wave patterns that force physics to cooperate. The undulations slow vehicles naturally, the road itself becoming a speed regulator carved into mountainside. It looks insane. It saves lives. Or does it? Traffic accident rates here are 40% higher than Beijing. Some call this adaptive engineering. Others call it institutionalized chaos. Now watch this. I'm standing on the first floor of this building. The entrance is right behind me. Ground level. Look down. That's the 20th floor. 20 stories below me. I stood here for 5 minutes, my brain refusing to process what my eyes were seeing. In Chongqing, ground level is a philosophical debate. Buildings cling to cliffs with street entrances at 5 different elevations. You walk into a lobby, take the elevator down 8 floors, exit onto another street, and locals shrug. First floor. Which one? Emergency services have a nightmare here. Ambulances arrive at the ground floor, only to discover the patient is 12 stories above them, or below. Response times can triple. Innovation or chaos? It depends on who you ask. Traffic lights here don't hang, they stack. 5 layers of roads, 1 GPS coordinate. I watched 3 different navigation apps all simultaneously give up. Google Maps showed me on a highway. Apple Maps insisted I was in a tunnel. My Chinese app just displayed an error message that roughly translates to, "You're on your own, buddy." Chongqing drivers don't use GPS. They use memory, instinct, and what one taxi driver told me was the mountain sense, an ability to navigate 3-dimensionally that takes years to develop. One foreign journalist failed the Chongqing driving test 7 times. 7. The city essentially creates a geographic barrier to entry. If you can't master this vertical maze, you don't belong here. Is that brilliant local adaptation? Or urban design as exclusion? Then there's this. A gas station. On a rooftop. 70 meters in the air. I asked the attendant, how do the fuel trucks get up here? He pointed to a spiral ramp I somehow hadn't noticed, winding up the side of the building like a concrete ribbon. Ever had an accident? Long pause. Once. 2019, the truck got stuck on level 3 for 6 hours. Traffic below stopped completely. In Chongqing, when you run out of horizontal space, you don't expand outward. You expand upward, and accept that one mistake can paralyze an entire district. Efficiency or fragility? But this is where Chongqing's philosophy becomes undeniable. Liziba Station. The monorail doesn't go around this residential building. It doesn't stop at it. It goes through it, piercing the 6th through 8th floors of a 19-story apartment complex. I stood in the station, then walked 50 meters and stood in someone's lobby. The same building. 20,000 people live here. I met a woman named Lu Chen who's lived on the 9th floor, 1 floor above the trains, for 12 years. I asked if the noise bothers her. She looked confused. What noise? You get used to it after a week. Now I can't sleep without it. The trains are like a heartbeat. Every 3 minutes. It means the city is alive. But here's what the tourism videos don't show: property values in this building are 30% lower than comparable apartments a block away. Insurance companies charge higher premiums. When I asked Lu Chen if she'd recommend it to friends, she hesitated. It's complicated. I love it. My daughter refuses to visit. The building was designed with the transit line integrated, dampeners, soundproofing, precision engineering. But it raises a question: when does innovation become intrusion? When does adaptation become acceptance of the unacceptable? Western urban planners I spoke to called this dystopian. Chongqing residents call it practical. Who's right? And then there's this monster. The Huangguejuewan Interchange. 5 layers. 20 different ramps. Spiraling through each other like concrete spaghetti designed by someone who'd given up on Euclidean geometry. From above, it's beautiful. From inside, it's psychological warfare. Miss your exit and you might end up across the Yangtze River, 20 minutes from where you intended. Chinese social media is filled with videos of drivers having meltdowns here, their GPS apps displaying error messages while they're committed to a ramp with no escape. But here's the thing: 30 million people navigate this daily. They've memorized the flows. Internalized the patterns. Made the impossible routine. Is this a triumph of human adaptability? Or have we normalized infrastructure that requires superhuman effort just to use? When a city demands you develop mountain sense to survive, has it failed, or evolved beyond our old definitions? This is what life looks like when you can't expand outward. School playgrounds float on the 15th floor. Kids play basketball in the sky because ground-level space doesn't exist. Pediatricians worry about children who've never played on natural ground. Air conditioners cascade down building facades like mechanical waterfalls. The Yangtze Valley traps heat so intensely that summer temperatures regularly hit 42 degrees Celsius. The electricity demand is staggering. Sustainable? Debatable. Markets balance on cliff edges, vendors selling vegetables while skyscrapers loom above and rivers flow hundreds of meters below. Parking lots crown skyscrapers. A local told me, in other cities, parking is under the building. Here, it's on top. We live upside down. But another resident countered, we don't live upside down. The rest of the world just hasn't caught up yet. The Huangguejuewan escalator climbs 112 vertical meters. That's a 36-story building. It takes 2.5 minutes. It's not a tourist attraction, it's how thousands commute daily from Riverside to Plateau. An 80-year-old woman riding next to me said she's taken it twice a day for 15 years. 45,000 times. You do the math. I asked if she'd ever lived in a flat city. Once. Shanghai. For 3 months. I couldn't breathe. 2. Horizontal. Like a prison with no walls. Then there's Ichuan, an entire town built on top of a bridge. Not beside it. On it. Shops, restaurants, apartments. People are born there, fall in love there, grow old there. All on a bridge. When I asked residents what happens if the bridge needs major repairs, they laughed nervously. No one had an answer. So here's the question this city forces you to answer: is Chongqing proof that humans can adapt to anything? Or proof that we'll accept anything if we're told there's no alternative? 30 million people don't just live here, they've mastered vertical existence while the rest of the world figures out horizontal space. The monorail turns 90 degrees in 5 seconds. The chopstick sculpture on that rooftop points at the sky like a challenge to gravity itself. But climate scientists warn this model isn't scalable. Sociologists point to the psychological cost. Urban planners are divided, half call it genius, half call it a warning. I don't have the answer. But I know this: within 30 years, climate change will force hundreds of millions to migrate to higher ground. Mountains will become prime real estate. And when that happens, the world will look to Chongqing, not as a curiosity, but as a blueprint. So I'm asking you, is this the future we want? Or the future we're afraid of? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this made you question everything you thought you knew about cities, subscribe, because I'm finding more places where humanity is rewriting the rules of survival. Next week, the Netherlands. A country that shouldn't exist, fighting the ocean 1 meter at a time. This is Chongqing. The 8D city. The question mark at the end of urban planning. Welcome to the future. Or the warning. You decide.